get my tongue untwisted here this morning. Nicodemus had an idea. He was a Jew and was a part of the Sanhedrin, the court, official 70 at that time, the rulers of the Jews. But he had an idea that Jesus was talking about something he needed. But he wanted to sneak around and come to Jesus by night so none of the other Jews would see him. You can't be a secret Christian. If you're going to be a Christian for Jesus Christ, he asked you to take a public stand. That's why sometimes we give an invitation. We ask people to come forward to profess Christ as Savior. That's why we do it. You have to be public. You have to confess him publicly. But it says something else in that verse, doesn't it? And this used to get me when I was lost. I didn't understand this totally. If you confess with your mouth Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead. I thought, believe with your mind. No, you don't. You understand the facts of salvation with your mind. But belief is like a commitment that I made. She's not here this morning, I can say that. 44, almost 45 years ago to my wife at an altar. We made a commitment one to another. That's a commitment, and that comes from the heart. Now, I knew what I was doing when I got married. Well, I knew part of it. I understood part of it, right? None of us understands everything when we get married. Nobody does. I understood a part of it. I understood here that I was a sinner, that Christ died for me, that I needed him in my life. I needed his forgiveness to make a difference so that I could go to heaven. I understood all that here. I understand he's coming again one day, and I look forward to that day. But you know what? I had to make a commitment here. There was a transfer of knowledge from here to here that had to take place, from here to here. Now, a lot of people have it here that don't have it here. They've got some of the facts. Some of them are even members of some of our evangelical churches. But there's never been that transfer, that total surrender to the Lord, that total commitment to him, where it's transferred from being a fact to being a reality in my heart. And so as you explain those things to people, they get to the point where they understand, and you go through and you explain what confession means. To confess him as Savior and Lord. You explain to them that has to be publicly, with the mouth. You explain to them that believe means that you place your trust in him. Now, if I trust this seat, I'll sit down on it. If I didn't trust it, I wouldn't sit down on it. I'm too old to pick myself up off the floor. Trust means that there is a level, a deep level. I call it surrender. Some call it commitment. Call it what you want. I believe that this well-made stool is strong enough to hold my X number of pounds. I make that commitment. Some people explain it this way. May not be a good one after this last weekend, but I'm going to fly to New Orleans on the 11th for a trustee meeting at the seminary. I've already bought my ticket, but I'm not on board yet. I go to the airport early that morning, way too early, and take that ticket and get on that airplane. I'm trusting that airplane, trusting the Lord as the pilot that morning to get me to New Orleans. Okay? Just having the ticket's not enough. I'll follow through with it. From here to here is what we're talking about. Saved. What does it mean to be saved? That word's used. It's a theological term. It's a bad word to use with people in the world that are not raised in church. They don't understand what you mean, so you need to explain it. You understand what it means to be saved. I understand it, but most people in this world don't understand that word. So if you're leading a friend or a relative to faith in Jesus, Take the time to explain to them that this is talking about salvation. The salvation of God that He offers. It means that the burden of my sin and the penalty for my sin have been removed and transferred to Jesus Christ 2,000 years ago when He died on that cross. Now, I don't understand everything that means, but I believe it. You don't have to understand everything that took place when that happened, but you need to believe it. One day when we get to heaven, we will understand everything that meant as He explains it to us in perfect terminology. But it's important enough to know that you can tell someone what happened when you were born again. We'll talk about that in the next step, okay? And then Romans 10:13. It said, whosoever, and you can tell this person, you can take your name, John, Betty, Susie, whatever, and write it in where it says whosoever. Whosoever calleth on the name of the Lord shall be saved. Now that doesn't mean to reach in your pocket or your purse and pull out your cell phone. That's not how we call God, is it? We call God through prayer. By talking to Him through prayer. And so all of these facts and all of this belief is put into a human expression that you will word in your own words. Some people use a prayer to lead people, and that's okay. If someone wasn't raised in a church, they may not feel comfortable, so you may have to kind of guide them through that prayer. And that's okay. It's okay to do that. But it doesn't matter the exact words that you use. You see, you don't have to memorize a certain prayer to get to heaven. But you call on the name of the Lord by saying simply, God, I know I am a sinner. I know that I believe that Jesus Christ, your Son, died on that old rugged cross for my sins. Not just for the sins of everybody else, but for mine. It's personal, you see, for my sins. And I want you to forgive me of all of the sin that I've ever committed. Everything, all the bad stuff I've done. Forgive me for that. And come into my life and be the Savior of my life. And He'll do that. You say it however you want to say it. They can say it however they want to. Be sensitive to the fact they may need your guidance in that prayer, especially if they haven't been in church a lot. So that's the first thing. Turn to the next page. This one's easy to do. And I encourage you to do this one. This is called the 60-second testimony sheet. It's, you can get one. We got some extra back there, right here on the front. Bonnie didn't get one. She needs one. Bonnie needs one. Bonnie really needs one. There you go. Share with her. I know we've got extra copies. I ran 70 off, I think. This is how you can give your testimony. Now, testimonies are like thumbprints or fingerprints. They're all different. There are certain common elements. If you're a Christian, you did pray a prayer, you asked Jesus to come into your life, and He saved you. That's the common element. But your background is very different than my background. From where you came from, when you came to Christ, was a very different perspective than where I came from. Oh yeah, we were all sinners. We all agree about that, okay? Those believers, we all agree. So that's the common thing, common theme. But what your life looked like before Christ probably was different in some cases. So the first thing that you do is describe after number one, and you can take this home and just write out your testimony. Describe what your life was like before Jesus became your Savior and Lord. Now, I've heard these people say, I call them gunslinger testimonies. You know, and there are some people out there with that kind of a background, and I'm not mocking that, okay? That's not what I'm saying. But please don't go too much into how bad your life was before you accepted Christ. You might say, you know, I was really living for the devil back then. That's enough. You don't have to go into all the gory details unless somebody has a common thread that sharing that detail with will make them understand that God saved you. He can also save them from the same pit. Okay? And sometimes, but you'll be sensitive to that and know that. My life before Jesus came in was that, man, I was an ADD teenager. I was. That's who I was. I was bouncing all over the place. You know, I'd be at church on Sunday morning because my daddy was the preacher, and that's where he made me go. Okay? And I was there. I enjoyed the social element of it. My girlfriend went to church there. That was a good thing to me at that age. You know, that was about where it was. I mean, it was purposeless. I had no purpose in life. You know, my purpose was to, go out on Friday night and have fun with the guys. That's kind of where I was. So I might tell some of those things, you know. My life had no purpose before Jesus Christ came into my heart. I was just a wanderer, just wandering around without understanding that He had a purpose for me in this world. And I didn't know what that purpose was. But then you write number 2. Explain how you came to Jesus. It may have been in a worship service similar to this. It may have been in your home. It may have been at McDonald's. It may have been at the God Rally over here a couple of years ago. It could have been at Billy Graham Crusade. It could have been at home watching a Christian program where they told a story about Jesus Christ. It could be as you